the ANC and the SACP. Two parties on a collision course for conflict, or coming together in 2025. Let's find out. Spread the fire. Welcome back to SMWX fam. Wishing you a happy new year if this is the first video you're watching this year, and I hope you are well. In this episode today, I want to take a look at what I think has been the most interesting aspect of this week in South African politics, as the ANC and the SACP have attempted to patch up some of the discord that emerged in their relationship in 2024. Now, I think this relationship between the SACP and the ANC is emblematic of a deeper question about South African politics, a question of whether the ANC will be able to remain relatively united in this GNU era, or whether the momentous decision to join forces with the DA will actually cause further fractions and splits in the movement. And so today, I want to take a look, as I promised in the last episode, at a deeper look at ANC internal and Tripartite Alliance internal dynamics, because I think they're going to characterize a lot of South African politics in 2025. So what have we recently had and what have we recently seen? Well, in a commemoration of struggle stalwart Joe Slovo, the SACP held a public event celebrating the life of Joe Slovo, and a number of noteworthy things happened. First, Cyril Ramaphosa, ANC president, addressed that meeting. Second, Mapaila also addressed that meeting. Third, Panyaza Lesufi, the ANC provincial leader in Gauteng, was also there. Now, why are all of those things important, and what does that meeting signal about the year ahead? Well, last year, we saw a particularly public schism forming in the ANC. In fact, a lot of it happened on this channel as I interviewed SACP, South African Communist Party, General Secretary Mapaila. Now, for those who don't know, for the vast majority of the last 35 years, the ANC has been in what it calls the tripartite. Tripartite means three-way alliance between the ANC itself, the South African Communist Party, and COSATU, which is a trade union federation, basically where a lot of workers gather to organize themselves. And that alliance has really been the bedrock of South African politics. Now, there have been moments where it looked like one of those three parties was going to break away, but the alliance has never been tested as it has when the ANC decided to join forces with the DA. So what did we see last year? We saw the SACP, led by Mapaila, coming out very strongly in criticism of the government of national unity, saying that this was a sellout, it was a gross error, and it was something that the ANC should never have contemplated. And the SACP went even further. They said because of the ANC's ways of joining with the DA and continuing with what it calls a neoliberal path of economic policy, the SACP would actually contest elections alone. Now, a number of analysts have said that this doesn't really matter because the SACP doesn't command a great amount of political support. I differ with that view because the ANC cannot afford to lose even 1 percentage point more of support. It's already below 40 if you combine the two most important ballots. And so it just doesn't have any room to lose. All it needs to do at this moment is actually grow. So I think it does matter that the SACP would, for example, contest the local elections. So that's where we were, and that was the state of play at the end of last year. Now, the SACP, you may remember, held a special congress where Paul Mashatile was videoed dancing to a song about Asifuni GNU, basically meaning we don't want this GNU. And Cyril Ramaphosa wasn't even there to speak. And SACP leaders really laid waste to the ANC's decision to join the GNU. They really took aim at the ANC. So what have we seen this year? Well, what we've seen, clearly the ANC has realized that it has a problem on its hands with the way that the SACP is constantly criticizing the GNU publicly. And it looks like behind closed doors, the ANC is intent on trying to bring the SACP back into the fold. And so to see Cyril Ramaphosa with Mapaila together on a stage is quite an important symbolic moment because it shows that there's at least a big attempt. I think that attempt is more on the side of the ANC than the SACP to create a renewed sense of unity within the alliance. Now, at that event, Cyril Ramaphosa made some quite worthwhile remarks to have a look at. I want you to take a look at what Ramaphosa said, and then we'll analyze it going forward. Take a look at this.
The SACP has been a strength behind the ANC. Similarly, the ANC has been a pillar of strength to the SACP. And the two need each other. The SACP needs the ANC. The ANC needs the SACP. The two are like twins. Separating them is to weaken our NDR.
So as you can see, Ramaphosa is effectively begging the SACP not to contest elections. He realizes that another split from the ANC would be disastrous electorally for the ANC, and is publicly coming out and saying that the ANC needs the SACP and vice versa. This is an attempt by the ANC president to say, hold on, hold your horses, don't take this drastic step of contesting the local elections. Because the ANC realizes that, and they must have done their homework and planned some scenarios out, that if the SACP can get its electoral house in order and put together a decent campaign, and don't forget, the SACP has some veteran politicians. A lot of people count them out, but I wouldn't be so quick to count them out. I'm not saying they would get 10% or 20%, but 2%, 1, 3%, that's doable. That's doable. In certain municipalities, they can do serious damage to the ANC. So the ANC must have done its homework over the holiday period and said, look, this is going to be disastrous for us electorally. We can't afford to bleed any more support. We need to bring the SACP back into the fold. And for Panyaza Lesufi and Mapaila to be seen laughing, smiling together with the president is a symbolic step. However, so far and up to this point, the SACP is not budging. And that's something I find fascinating and interesting. Even Mapaila, when he took to the stage, defended the SACP's decision to go it alone. And what they have effectively said is, look, we're not leaving the alliance, but we've realized that for the ANC to wake up to our demands, we have to contest electoral power. That's the only way to reset our relationship. Because right now, basically, bayasithatha kancane, right? So, Mapaila, in his remarks, continued to remain firm. And let's take a look at what he said.
The Communist Party decided to participate in the coming local government elections in 2026. This task, comrades, is not the intention to weaken any force of the alliance. On the contrary, our intention is to strengthen the alliance.
So clearly, the SACP is intent on this decision that they've taken to contest the local government elections, and I think that is going to be one of the most important features of these local government elections. The reason is that if the ANC suffers another terrible election, like they did in 2024, and let's say they fall or they stay at around the 40% mark or go even below that nationally, they lose all the metros or maybe just cling on to Buffalo City, it'll be very difficult for Cyril Ramaphosa to continue to have this firm grip on the party that he currently has, because that'll be successive elections in which he has just been decimated at the polls. And really, a president only has two things going for them: the economy and electoral performance. And Cyril Ramaphosa has a bad economy and he has bad electoral performance. So one of those two things has to give. Otherwise, over time, he's going to become an increasingly weaker president. So either the economy has to improve or electoral performance has to improve. Now, if electoral performance declines again successfully and is disastrous for the ANC, then the years after the local election are going to be tough, and we could see that rebellion against Ramaphosa from within the party of people saying, look, we need to do something different, because clearly what we've done up to now is losing us massive amounts of support. What I think is going on here is that the ANC is trying to bring the SACP back into the fold, but the SACP is not budging. However, in my interview with Floyd Chivambu, he said something quite perceptive, which is that the ANC is going to do everything they can to try and water down the SACP's stance. They're going to try and bring them back into the fold and dilute the hard public message that the SACP is coming out with. So even if the ANC can't stop the SACP from contesting elections, maybe they're trying to get them to stop speaking out so publicly. Now, Ramaphosa was quite deft when Samkele Maseko of the SABC asked him a question and said, are you going to, take action against Mapaila or Panyaza Lesufi? And he said, no, why would I do that? Freedom of expression is welcome in the movement, and it helps us to sharpen each other's positions, which is, I think, the right call. However, what we have seen is a slightly different stance being taken by ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula, who was in Khayelitsha ahead of the ANC's January 8th statement, coming out swinging against ANC members who he says have been too loose with their words on social media. And he took particular aim at Tony Yengeni, a veteran ANC leader who's been in the ANC NEC for a long time. And this is what he had to say about Tony Yengeni.
Tony Yengeni is nothing else but a political Casanova. And he is spewing vagrant political views and views that are embraced by a few malcontents who are opposed to the ANC. He will be charged. I've informed him through an SMS. I called him. We will charge him. We'll bring him before the disciplinary processes of the ANC so that he explain himself in terms of his membership of the ANC. Not this statement, many other statements he has made. We will charge him and bring him before the disciplinary committee of the African National Congress.
So you see, on the one hand, you have a President Ramaphosa who's saying, well, those who come out publicly attacking the ANC's decisions, they should have freedom of expression. That sharpens our positions. Whereas internal to the ANC, Mbalula has taken a much more belligerent stance. And of course, you'll remember, again, after an interview on this channel with Panyaza Lesufi, the ANC was purported to have called a meeting and asked Mr. Lesufi to explain himself based on what he said on this channel. So it seems that one grouping within the ANC wants to take a much tougher stance against those who are speaking out against the party. Now, Tony Yengeni has been very vocal about, number one, the GNU not being a correct option. The president's leadership, he has seemed to call into question, and he just doesn't seem to agree with the direction of the party at this moment. I believe he also represented Zuma within the internal disciplinary process. So he's someone who's seen as representing a certain position in the party, which is against the GNU, which would prefer much more what they call radical economic policies. And they see the GNU as antithetical to that agenda. Fam, before we get back to the episode, we just want to let you know we have a big goal on this channel to build this community to 1,000 members. That means we have 2 new levels of SMWX membership. The first level gives you exclusive access to content, discounts on merch, but the second level, in addition to various other perks, gives you access to me. We're going to have meetups, online sessions. You're going to get discount on our live events. So if you want to deepen your SMWX community experience, help us get to that 1,000 member level. Look forward to seeing you there. So the question is, which perspective will win out? This let's have a broad church approach, let people speak. Freedom of expression is good for the party. It helps us sharpen our focus. Or we are going to take a disciplinarian approach to it, and we are going to bring people towards DCs. The danger of being too quick to discipline people is that it makes the party look defensive, and it makes them look as if they are worried about these statements. If they just let Tony Yengeni speak, the public already knows that there are different perspectives in the ANC. They, in some ways, they vest those who are critical of the GNU with more power when they take them through these disciplinary processes. They give them platforms, and it can backfire. Whereas taking a bit more of a liberal approach to it, in my view, would be the wiser thing to do. Of course, this decision is going to create a sense in which people want to speak out, and maybe the party should just let people air their views rather than be too disciplinarian about it. Because on the other hand, they're trying to dissuade other people from speaking out. Maybe the party's worried that if they let a Tony Yengeni say the things he's saying, then other people will become more and more vocal. But the thing about it is, it's not necessarily a disciplinary problem, it's an ideological problem. People have ideological disagreements. So it's going to be very hard to contain politicians from speaking out when that's really what they do when they have ideological problems and divisions. So it'll be interesting to watch how the disciplinary processes that Mbalula promised will unfold with Tony Yengeni, what Yengeni will do with that, and whether he will leverage that to bring more spotlight to his perspective within the ANC. And bear in mind that this is all in the context of an NGC which is coming up, where you may have a grouping within the ANC or the alliance saying, why are people getting so defensive and why are they being trigger happy with disciplinary processes when there are serious debates to be had? So it'll be fascinating to me when the NGC does come up, unless the ANC tries to delay it or defer it, whether the side of the party that's going a bit more gung-ho on disciplinary action will prevail, or the side that wants a bit more open expression will prevail. And bear in mind, this is part of a larger story of which part of the ANC will win over its soul. Will it be that side of the leadership that wants this GNU, that's rallied behind Ramaphosa, that has its grip on the state? Or will an emergent movement led by the SACP, led by some elements in Gauteng, led by those who support so-called radical economic transformation, will that grouping rise to challenge the ANC? Now, the thing is, that grouping doesn't necessarily have to have a majority. It just has to be big enough to cause headaches for the ANC, because once the ANC has headaches, then it becomes paralyzed. And then it has to placate this group while rewarding this group one day, and then placate this group while rewarding this group another day. And that's where we may just see more of the same kind of inertia and stagnation happening with policy, where the ANC is unable to take a decisive stance one way or the other, because some days it's trying to make the DA happy, other days it's trying to make the radical faction happy, and it ends up with some middle muddle, fiddle fuddle in between that doesn't really suit anyone's agenda and that no one asked for. So that's why I think the ANC's SACP moment is particularly important and something we should think about this year. Watch it very closely. Will the SACP continue to evoke public condemnation? Will the ANC keep trying to bring the SACP in? What will happen at the National General Council? Will the SACP be able to garner and marshal more support from within the ANC to challenge the GNU? Or will it be relegated to a very small minority, in which case it will create a small but insignificant splinter? That's why I think what happened this week with President Ramaphosa addressing the Joe Slovo commemorations is worthy of our political attention. Fam, help us get to 200,000 subscribers. You know, a lot of you are watching and you think you've subscribed, but you haven't actually clicked that button. Just double check. If you watch regularly, click that subscribe button. It helps this channel rise. It helps us get better guests. It helps us continue to offer you even more content. We want to grow SMWX even more this year. That means we're going to do more videos. We're going to do more interviews. But in order to do that, we need your support. We need you to signal to us that you want more, that you're liking what we're doing. So we would appreciate it if you subscribe, you like. Please become a member. We want to get to 1,000 members on this channel and build a whole new independent way of doing media in South Africa, where we rely on you, our members, rather than advertising or anything like that. So if we can get to 1,000 members, that'll be a massive milestone for us. But other than that, thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for watching. And it's great to see you on SMWX. Hope to see you on the next one. Keep spreading the fire. That means word of mouth, telling your people about this channel. And keep it locked on SMWX, the Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh experience. Aye.